Hi, and welcome to Quilting with Lori. My name is Lori Dickman. Today I'm going to share with you how you can use your Scrappy 10-inch squares. You can just take two of those 10-inch squares, sew them together to create the disappearing block. But I'm going to show you how you can make 10 different quilt blocks using those two squares. There's so much that you can do with the disappearing technique. So let's have fun and see how many squares we can make. And I hope that many of you will try this and let me know if you're able to come up with even more than the 12 that I show you. For those of you who are not familiar with my speedy solutions to cut and organize your scrap stash, I do have a techniques book as well as a corresponding patterns book out on my website. I'll link it in the description box below in case you're interested in looking at that. But definitely go out on my YouTube channel to my home page of my YouTube channel, and there is a video that walks you through, it's a tutorial that walks you through step by step how to get your scrap stash cut, sorted, organized, and ready to go to make beautiful quilts. And one of the things that I mention in this techniques book is to make sure as you're going through and cutting up your stash, make sure you cut up lots of 10-inch squares. And this particular tutorial today is going to show you why that's so important. The disappearing quilt blocks can get a quilt done for you so quickly. You can make very large quilts very quickly using this technique. So make sure as you're cutting up your stash, you cut up lots of 10-inch lights, mediums, and darks so that you have quite an assortment to be able to make a beautiful scrappy quilt. So what I would recommend, since it's almost fall now, we're in the last of October, go ahead and grab some beautiful fall prints from your stash. I've got a hand-dyed light there with a print and just some cream lights with a print. And would be fun to make a beautiful fall quilt using one of the 12 block patterns that I'm going to be sharing with you. And so grab some of these and let's have fun playing with them to create your disappearing block. Now let me show you how the block goes together, and then I'm going to show you the 12 different ways you can put the block or rearrange the block to create 12 different quilt blocks. So for those of you who have never done a disappearing block, I'll show you how it's put together. First of all, you take a light and a dark 10-inch square, or actually you could use a smaller square, and that's fine, but right now for the purposes of this tutorial, I am using 10-inch squares. And you put them right sides together, and then you sew all the way around 1/4 of an inch, all the way around the entire block. So all you're seeing are the wrong sides of each, light and dark. Then you are going to use your ruler and you're going to cut on diagonal lines from corner to corner. And you're going to create 4 pieces. All right, so I have taken my ruler and I've cut diagonally from corner to corner. I end up with 4 half square triangles. And now I'm going to put these into a pinwheel formation. You could, I guess, if you wanted to, just sew these together here and you've got a beautiful square and a square if you wanted to do that. But that's not as exciting as what we could produce. So let's take these 4 half square triangles and put them in a pinwheel formation here. So there we go. There we go. All right, so now we have it in a pinwheel formation, and you're simply going to sew it together as I have done here. So now it's sewn together in a pinwheel. And of course, if you wanted to, you could square this up perfectly and just use these pinwheel blocks, make a ton of scrappy pinwheel blocks. I guess that would be block number 13 if you wanted to. But we're going to continue with this and make it even more interesting. What you'll want to do with your block is measure it and find out what the measurement is, and then divide it by 3. And you're going to cut this into thirds. Most of my blocks, once I've done my seam allowances, work so that I would cut mine. I basically take my ruler, and it's going to be 4 1/4 inches. So I am going to take my ruler, and I'm going to line it up on the 2 1/8 inch mark along the seam line there, cut here. Take it and line it up on the 2 1/8 inch mark there, cut there. And 2 1/8 is half of 4 1/4. So it's 4 1/4, 4 1/4, 4 1/4 is what we're working on. But let's continue here. And here we have 2 1/8 of an inch from that seam line out, and I would cut there. And then the last one is 2 1/8 of an inch that I'm lining up on this line here, and I will cut there. And by doing so, here is what I have produced. So I cut 2 1/8 inch here, 2 1/8 inch there, 2 1/8 here, and 2 1/8 here, measuring out from the very center on all of this. So you can see that my pinwheel is now cut, and it now is a 9 patch. Let me separate them. And so that is what you're looking to do. You're wanting to at least get each block cut into a 9 patch, which resembles this. Now the fun part begins. So let's create block number 1. And block number 1, we're going to keep our pinwheel in the center just as it is. We're going to take all of our corners and we're going to move the dark section toward the center. And there we go. Now, actually, I think I'm coming up with even a few more than 12 blocks out of this. Here is one that you could certainly do just like this. So that would actually be another design. So if you like that, you're welcome to try that one. But what I have done for my first block is continued moving these around right there. There we go. There's the first block, block number 1. So you've simply taken these outer corners and you've moved the dark to the center. And you've taken the little rectangle sections here in the middle and you flip them around so the darks were outside. Block number 2 is simply taking those and flipping them like this. You have a churn dash with a pinwheel in the center. That's block number 2. You could also, block number 3 would be just to take those corner pieces and flip them so that the light is going to the center. There is block number 3. So you've seen 1, 2, and 3. You also saw number 13 at the very beginning, which is one that I hadn't even included or hadn't even thought about including. So we've got a number of blocks already that you could have fun with. Now let's see what else we can produce. So we'll take this same design, and what we're going to do is move one corner here, this corner here. So they're facing the center. And these two out here are going to do a little something different. One is going to face down, down my way. I guess it would be up for you. And this one goes up for me, or down for you. And so that is a completely different block. So this is block number 4. And it's a fun little block to create. You could actually do a reverse of this if you'd like, where you're putting maybe the light this way. Let's see what that does. So I've just done the reverse there. There's, I guess, block number 5. So we're already coming up with some more blocks. And this is going to create a really neat diagonal coming through your quilt as you're putting all your blocks together. So there, with every disappearing block that you put together in rows and in quilt centers, you're going to find secondary designs that pop up. That's a lot of fun. All right, let's create a few more. We're going to do number 6 here. And what I'm going to do with number 6, I'm going to turn all of my corner blocks so that they are facing out. So they're all facing out. And I'm leaving my pinwheel in the center, but I'm going to take all of my little rectangle squares and I'm simply turning them basically so they're all turning to the right, creating sort of another pinwheel, if you will. And there is block number 6. Great block, a fun one. You could, I think I did a mirror image, and it looks a little bit different if you take these same blocks. So this would be number 7. And I'm turning them so that the darks match up to the little point in there. There is block number 7. And again, every time you put these together, you are creating secondary designs as the quilt goes together, which is really fun. So there is number 7. Let's see what else we can put together. All right, let's work on block 8 and 9. So again, we'll start out in the corners, and I am going to turn these 2 corners here so that they face in. I am going to turn these 2 corners so that they face in. I am going to take my rectangles and turn them so they all face, the darks face out. And I guess that's what I meant, is the darks are facing in the corners, and the darks are facing out along the rectangle squares. There is block number 8. We can do a reverse image or a mirror image, if you will, by just changing some of this. You're simply going to have to change these rectangles. Put them all toward the inside. And again, remember, every time you put this together, you're creating some secondary designs with every block that goes together. So there's 8 and 9. All right, let's take a look now at block number 10 and 11. In this case, we're going to move our pinwheel, and I'm going to go ahead and just move it up to the corner here. So I've moved my pinwheel, and I'm going to put one of these corner blocks right here. I'm going to put a corner block right there. So the pinwheel and 2 corner blocks are right here. I'm going to put one of these rectangular ones here and here, where the darks are facing out like that. I'm going to put this one right here. This is a corner block. The light is facing the pinwheel, the dark is facing down. And then I'm going to take these 2 rectangles, put them this way and this way. So this is creating an interesting basket. So here we have block number 10. And there's a number of different designs that you can create, moving your pinwheel out to a corner. And then, of course, when you're putting your blocks together, remember there are going to be possibly 4 pinwheels. You could lay it out where all your pinwheels come together, or not. Maybe they'll be in different areas here, and every block is going to be laid horizontally and or vertically, just like this. That's another design element that you could have fun with once you get the blocks done and start putting them on the design wall and arranging them. So lots of fun things there. Now let's see what else we can create with a design by moving this pinwheel out to the corner. All right, let's make another basket design like this. We're going to keep our pinwheel here in the corner. We're going to keep these 2 where they are. We're going to flip this one around so that it's creating a base there. And then we are going to flip these around so that they are facing this way. So we've created a beautiful little basket there. The rectangles, the darks are facing this way, and this is the base of the vase. Here's the basket or the vase, and here is the flower. What a beautiful little block. And of course, you can do a mirror image. So this is number 11. You could completely move this around. Maybe you'd like your... Let's just see what happens when we do this. Whoops, yeah, that's what I want to do. What does this look like? Okay, that's interesting. It's the same layout, except the lights are sitting in the place of the darks all the way throughout. So there's another version, is a mirror image. But as you can see, there's so much you can do with a disappearing pinwheel block and with the 9 patches that you end up with, and just making different arrangements, rearranging things. So that is another creation. And I believe there is another creation that we can make with this pinwheel in the center. Let me grab that as well and make sure I show that one to you. Before I move this to the center, I think there's one more design that I'd like to share with you. And here's how we're going to put it together. We're going to move these rectangle squares right there. We're going to swap this girl around here. This one is going to be swapped here. This one will go here. This stays in the corner. This in the corner. And this goes in the center. So what I have done is my 3 corner blocks are facing out. The dark is facing out. One of the corner blocks, the dark is facing toward the pinwheel flower. And with all 4 rectangle squares, I've shaped them so that they're toward the center. There's another block. And then, of course, if you flip some of these around, you've got another version. You could flip this around here, and here, and there. There is another block. It's sort of a churn dash with a pinwheel over here. So that's a fun one. So many things that you can do. And I can't wait to hear from you all to see what else you come up with. Now, let's move this back to the center. I think there's one more version that I can get for you using this pinwheel in the center. But what I'm going to do is put this pinwheel back in the center. And we are going to take our corners here, this corner, and that corner is going to stay out. So these darks are facing out in these corners right here. And I am going to put this corner square here and this corner square here. All right, so they are facing that, all of the dark corners are facing that way. Now let's see what we're going to do with these rectangles. In this case, I am putting all of the rectangles just like that. That's kind of interesting too. What an interesting shape. And again, remember, every time you add more blocks around here, you're getting secondary designs. So once you put your 9 patches together and decide on a design of a block that you want to use, then you get to put it on the design wall and really have fun creating even more designs once you get to the point where you're actually putting the quilt together. We could, I suppose, flip these around. Let's just see what happens here. What happens if we do this? It's more of a mirror image, and it's just another design. So there's quite a few options for you. It's very exciting to play around with these, and once you get started, it's hard to stop. So I encourage you to grab some of those beautiful blocks, maybe from your fall stash, and start sewing some of those together. Again, you start by just sewing a print with a light, or a dark or a medium with a light. You're going to sew 1/4 of an inch all the way around. You're going to cut it diagonally. You're going to press it open, create a pinwheel, measure it, divide it by 3, and then start putting together some wonderful 9-patch designs with that pinwheel setting, and see what you come up with. I'd love to see them. Please share your designs out on my Facebook page, Quilting with Lori, and it's a group page called Scrap Up Your Stash. So please go out there and share some of the photos of the designs that you come up with using your disappearing pinwheel blocks. Thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. We have had fun, at least I have had a ball, just putting together some different shapes using the disappearing pinwheel block. So I have 3 different versions here that I've put together. I am looking forward to using some of those fall scraps of mine. And again, if you haven't had an opportunity yet to watch the video that corresponds to my Speedy Solutions to Cut and Organize Your Scrap Stash, go to my homepage on my YouTube channel, and that is a featured video right up there for you. I'll link it all below as well. It is in the description box. But if you watch that video, it goes hand in hand with this techniques book, and it teaches you everything you need to know to get your scrap stash cut, sorted, organized, and ready to use to make beautiful quilts. I do have a corresponding patterns book that has 12 beautiful scrappy patterns in there, and you'll be able to use your own scrap stash to make the quilts in there. And between the two, you get 17 different scrappy patterns. But make sure as you're going through your stash that you are cutting up 10-inch squares. They are so very handy. If you need to make a large quilt quickly, this is your option. I think you'll be able to get that quilt put together so fast, you won't believe how quickly it will be ready to get put on your quilting machine or on your domestic machine and get quilted and bound and ready to gift. So thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoyed the content that I provide. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and comment below. I love to read the comments from my viewers, and share my videos with your friends, with your quilt guilds. It really does help my channel to grow, and that way it reaches more quilters just like yourself. So thank you so much for doing that. And until next time, happy quilting.